except the Crips.
Sunday. It didn't do the same thing this time. It just pinwheeled for a minute and then started. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to True Story Live. And my name is Jason Cripps, and I'm one of the three hosts here on the broadcast. And I will introduce the other two panelists as well. First, I'll start with my. I've heard her called many names, and by a friend of the show calls her Songbird. So, Songbird, Jen, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, geez, I'm blushing. I'm doing great. Great to be here and great to be back after a year off. My goodness.
Yeah.
We're super, super delighted that people are still have us in their notifications and are joining us.
Yeah, that's great. No more tests tonight. This is the real time show. Technically, this is kind of like a pre-show show, but it's not a test. We're gonna. I don't know how long we'll go. Depends on how many people participate tonight. But it's going to be kind of a questions and answers thing. We'll interact with you guys in the chat, and we'll say hello to you officially in just a moment. But first, say hello to our friend from the bottom of the earth, if you believe it's globe. The bottom of the globe, Glenn. Say hello to the people, sir.
Hello. Good evening. Great to be here.
Lovely,
All right.
Glenn.
Yeah.
We should, when we introduce you, Glenn, we should say Glenn and his squeaky chair.
Yes.
The squeaky chair makes an appearance. If anyone remembers, I once had a squeaky chair.
Yes.
And I even put WD-40 on it to try to.
It never works.
It didn't work, and all it did is basically make a black spot on the carpet.
Oh, geez.
Because it leaked. I didn't even think of that. And it leaked out. So anyway, could anybody tell us how the sound is? Or on our second test, we had a little craziness going on, and it was like someone said it was the Twilight Zone. I think it was Celine that said that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was a little crazy.
Sounds good. I heard in the chat that it sounds good, so we're good to go.
Good.
Thank you. So we have a few people in the chat and more coming. But Jen, if you would do the honors and just say hello to anyone in the chat so far, that'd be awesome.
All right. Yeah, well, we've got our trusty Celine, our baby Yoda loving Celine. Hey, Journey's Way. Good to see you. Alex is here. He said the volume is very low on his end. Not sure if we can adjust that. We've got Liam. Liam, great to see you, man. Let's see. Stephanie, good to see you, Stephanie. And I think that might be it right now.
Okay.
But it's so wonderful to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, so as Jen was saying, it's been almost a year to the day. I would have to look to see when the actual last broadcast was. I think it was in October, but it's been around a year.
Yeah.
So a lot of things have happened. For those of you that do not know, Jen and I are engaged now. I did not think that was the case. No, I know it wasn't the case.
No.
A year ago.
Just dating.
We're dating. So that's good news. And actually, we are getting married on the 19th. And because of all the COVID stuff, there won't be an actual ceremony where people are invited because we just could not bear the idea of having people come to our wedding wearing masks. I know people have had fun with that and they've continued on with their weddings. And that's great for them. But we want people to enjoy themselves and not be restricted in that way. So we will be having a ceremony of sorts at a different day. Glenn, you need a lozenge, buddy?
Beg your pardon?
You need a lozenge? It sounds like you're having some issues.
It's because it's spring, the air is just full of
pollen.
Every kind of flower going around the place.
Gotcha.
Ooh, question from Celine. When's the wedding date?
The 19th. I think I just said that, but maybe you asked the question before. Yeah, so the 19th. Maybe I didn't say it. My apologies. So the 19th of this month.
Hey.
So we're looking very forward to that.
Yeah, 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. And then when things clear up, if they do clear up a little bit with all the craziness and the mask wearing, then we will set up a ceremony and invite people and just kind of have a party.
Yeah.
Jen, do you see yourself like walking down the aisle and all that stuff, or what do you see as a party? This is
Yeah, doing a little ceremony, walking down an aisle of sorts.
yeah. Okay, that sounds great. No, it does. It does. It sounds great. It sounds wonderful. All right, I was waiting for a few people to get in here, and I'm gonna read our intro for tonight. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay. TSL, The Return. The title is This Ain't No Place for No Hero. We announce with pleasure the return of TSL. Tonight is our introductory show. Full service commences next time. This new series of TSL is simply put a life show. A wise person realizes that the more they know, the more they realize how little they know. That's our approach. Take new thoughts on board and see where they lead. Primarily, it's about respecting personal decisions and choices. Lyrics from the title song are appropriate to our view, but it can be read in many ways. Worth a look. You decide. So we've posted the link to the song. I would definitely suggest everybody listen to it, and you can read the lyrics. I'll read a few here. This ain't no place for no hero. This ain't no place for no better man. This ain't no place for no hero to call home. So let's restate and spell it out so everyone knows what they're in for. TSL is about each of us. No favor, no favorites, and no BS. No right or wrong, only opinions. Our basic charter is no set rules, no riot acts, no agendas, and no assessments at the entry gate. That's because there is no gate. We're realizing the topics for the initial series of 4 shows. We respectfully invite your advice, input, comments, or questions to be directed to the contact details as provided. Week number 1, humility versus condescension. Song titled for that one is I Want to Know What Love Is. Week number 2, discernment versus arrogance, titled Another Brick in the Wall. Week 3, doubt versus decision, titled Artificial Sweetener. Week number 4, reconciliation versus estrangement, titled Hard to Say I'm Sorry. I think that's aptly named. We'll see in week 4, but I'm looking forward to all of these. To you out there in the world, we say the value of TSL to you rests with you. It is not our place to teach you, but it is our place to challenge you if you permit it. Pretty simple, really. This ain't no place for no hero. All right, guys, there's the intro, our first intro.
Wonderful. Lovely write up, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn.
Good points.
So what we're going to do about that, let me talk about that really quick. Before, basically, Glenn did all the write-ups, and I enjoyed that because it was less work for me, but it takes a excruciatingly long time to produce the shows with all the work that Glenn puts into it, and we're very appreciative of that, but I feel like he wasn't appreciated enough. He did not complain about that. That was not the reason we stopped, but I'm just speaking personally from my point of view. It was my show to begin with. Now it's our show, but I kind of took it for granted. And I took Glenn for granted, so I apologize publicly for that. So this time around, we're going to do, each of us will do a few shows on our own, and then it'll be like Jen's job next time or my job, either way. Mm-hmm. And we'll produce a couple shows from our perspective.
Yeah.
And we'll continue on like that. Glenn does enjoy writing the shows. So he's got at least the first 4 shows already kind of laid out, at least with the titles that I read. So we're good for a few weeks. He's also allowing time for us to go through with the marriage in 10 days. So we'll be off that weekend, and then we'll be back on again. And we're actually considering following through with the Thanksgiving weekend episode as well. But we'll let you know if anything changes about that.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So, Jen, there's a couple new people that just showed up. If you want to say hello to them, because
Yes, Salted Cedar, great to see you. I think that might be the only new person that came in.
Alex, unless I didn't see him before.
Oh, no, I said hi to Alex.
Okay, my fault.
My ukulele playing friend Alex. Even though Glenn thinks ukuleles are just noise, or maybe it's just my playing.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Yeah. You
This
know
is
those
being
Aussies,
direct.
Aussies are critical of everything in America. There's a blank. There's a
With
blank.
good reason.
There's a good reason
Right
for
back
that.
at you, Aussie.
Right. Let's see now. Salted Cedar. I remember you. I mean, it's only been a year, but I remember you. Your YouTube page. If anyone has not had a chance to go over and see that page, they do a lot of great videos over there. So definitely pay them a visit. Be worth your while. And let's see. Just looking at the chat, see if anyone. Okay, so on our introductory show, what we talked about doing was taking questions from the chat. If anybody has any questions that you want answered, we're not holding anything back. We'll be very respectful and polite about everything. That's what we hope to do. But if you have any questions you want answered, then please do. Please ask any questions, and we'll answer them as soon as we see them.
Oh, we got John and Gia both in the chat. Hey, Gia.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. We love you guys. We love Gia. Haven't seen you. Well, I did see you recently on one of the other broadcasts. I forget which one. But we're glad you're here.
Yes, we are.
Gia actually did a testimony for us. If you want to hear her testimony, we still have those up. We haven't taken any of those down. And we'll be starting that up again. It'll be very separate from the Sunday shows, but it is something that we had a lot of positive feedback about. So if you have any interest, you have not done a testimony, you would like to do a testimony, then you can reach out to me and we can set up a time to do that. And it'll either be Tuesday or Thursday. Either one of those sounds good when I say it. So at least to me. I was going to say something else about that. No.
Stories? No?
What's that?
The stories. Did you want to mention that it doesn't have to be a...
Yes, thank you. Yes. You know me so well. I was gonna mention, we did kind of talk about this a little bit in one of the test broadcasts, which we deleted those because the second one at the beginning was just ridiculous, crazy noise. So we didn't keep them. We didn't feel a need to keep them. But I was sharing that the testimony does not have to be typically a Christian testimony. If it's just basically stories, whatever story a person has that they want to tell. If you want to tell us a story, then we're calling it a testimony because a lot of it typically refers to a spiritual journey of some sort. But I guess the point that I want to make clear is it doesn't have to match our personal beliefs at all, because we have various beliefs here on the panel. And that's okay. We want everyone to be able to come to the table, and we just want to have discussions. We want to talk about life topics and life issues and go from there.
Yeah. You know, it's always been fascinating to me about people's stories. Have you ever been on a street and there's just tons of people around, and you think about each person has their own story?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just fascinating to me. You just want to crack someone's mind open and read it.
Yeah.
But Glenn made a really good point. I think when we were talking about this on one of the tests, just about how blown away we would be if we just gave some people time to share their story. People go through so much, good and bad, and in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be quite fascinating.
It can be quite fascinating. And as I said on the very first broadcast when we started on Blog Talk, I read this whole thing that I had written. I said that I love stories, and I always have. when I was a kid, that was my favorite thing was story time. I pestered my parents to death about reading me stories, and still like it. You know, all these years later, I still like to hear people's stories. So the name of the channel, True Story Live, I wanted to hear people's true stories.
Yep.
And I learned pretty quickly that some people are reluctant to tell their true story, and so we kind of morphed into something else. Okay, two more people to say hello to in the chat, babe.
Alrighty.
Wonderful.
Glenn. Debbie. Hey, Debbie. And Long Duck Dong. Oh my gosh. I love that movie. Pretty in Pink, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, 16 Candles. You were
Oh,
close,
16
though.
Candles. I love when he's like, automobile. Oh, man. Oh, I love that movie. Anyway. Hey, guys. Great to see you. Sorry. A little distracted. I love
No,
movies.
they asked a question. Can we add in American politics has gone to the outhouse? Yes, of course.
Mhm.
This is not necessarily a political show, but especially tonight, we're talking about whatever you guys want to talk about, and we're answering questions. So we could talk about that for a second. I would completely agree with you. I think it's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
And now we have most of America celebrating Biden as president. And what they don't understand is that the media does not decide who the president is. They'll have to wait until the count's over. So I'm not saying that Biden won't be president. What I'm saying is I would wait until the count is done, because now there's challenges about fraud. And if anyone remembers back in the day, how long we waited to see who the president was when it was George W., I think. Do I have that right? Was it George W.?
Mm-hmm.
That whole debacle with the hanging chads, and we waited months to find out who the president was. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree with Long Duck Dong that it is politics are in the outhouse for sure. Okay, so we cleared that up, I think. Unless anyone else had some comments to make on that particular topic. Glenn, I know you're not living in America, but what do you think? No, this is a good question. What do you think from the outside looking in?
Yes.
About the politics here in America? Any comment?
Lay it on us, buddy.
Right. Two poor candidates.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd keep it off our TV.
Oh, it's on your TV.
It's been incessant.
Okay.
But it's stopped now, I think, because they've sort of come to an announcement, even though it's not confirmed. But it's been very painful. I think I told you my son wanted to put $500 on Donald Trump, and I said, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's about all I can add.
Okay, Jen, do you have a comment?
It's just sad. The state of everything is just very sad.
Yeah.
The corruption and fraud, and I think it's been going on quite a bit longer than we all know. It's just been hidden better.
Yeah.
Or maybe we've been more asleep and naive. I don't know. maybe a little of both. Yeah. But it's just sad. It's sad. And I'm grateful. I know this isn't a religious show per se, but I'm grateful that I have faith in God and that I can put my trust in Him and not in man, especially in a time like this. I'm very grateful. Gives me a peace that I obviously would not have right now if my faith was in man. You're like, nope.
Right. No, that's
gone.
a good point.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think as part of the introductory show we can talk about this. We're not saying that, because we did talk a lot about spirituality and things like that. That's okay. That's not off the table. But there are a lot of people out there that are doing typical Bible shows or talking about doctrine and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that's not what we intend to do here. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk about our various beliefs, or if people come in the chat and they want to ask some questions or talk about it, it is open. It is open to talk about that stuff. So we're not avoiding the topic. It's just not going to be the main topic of conversation. Because again, there's plenty of broadcast going on right now on YouTube. In fact, most of the people here are aware of local channels in the Grace community where you can listen to those broadcasts, and that's no problem.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be our main source. Oh, we have an important guest. We have 2 new guests, Jen.
Janet, so great to see you.
Yes.
And we've got Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Hey.
Yep.
Were those the 2? I think that's
Yeah,
correct.
you got it. You nailed it.
Awesome.
You were good.
Yeah, Janet made a really good point. I don't want to segue into another.
No, go ahead.
She was going back into the thought on people's stories. She said how many unique stories go to the grave every moment people pass away or pass on. How many do not even have one person in their life who cared enough to listen to their stories? She said, "Just call me Debbie Downer." That's not really. That's an insightful. I think it's. I think it happens all the time, and it is very sad.
Yeah.
But I think it's all the more reason to have places like this that people can share. But I think it's pretty normal for people to think that their story isn't interesting or important or worthwhile or worth sharing.
Mhm.
And it'd be great if people could realize, no, if you're alive and you're living and breathing, you're going through stuff, your story is worthwhile. It's worth telling. It's worth hearing.
No, yeah, good point. Because more up in the chat, John said, "I would love to hear or read everyone's story in here."
Yeah.
So more people have an interest in hearing other people's story than just me. So that's
Yeah. It is wonderful.
So Janet, we're glad you're here. Glenn had sent you, I think, an email or whatever, and I sent out several invites through Messenger, and we posted in a couple different places just to let people know we're on, since it's been a long time. But I am very pleased with the turnout thus far, especially after not having regular broadcast for this long. So we're grateful about that. Let's go to Glenn really quickly and see, Glenn, what do you think about all this, about starting TSL up again? Anything that's been mentioned that you want to clarify?
Yeah, I clarify. Probably, if I can, I'll just tell people why it stopped, why we
Okay.
took a year off. Well, I can tell it from my perspective anyway.
Sure.
That I just felt that there was the way it was heading. I was feeling compromised because it was becoming a forum for people of different opinions. It was getting to the point where it was divisive, and in other words, some people would stay and other people in equal proportions were wanting to leave. So it really did not feel good to me. So I took a break.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing personal against anybody, but I think that we had to re-establish the fundamentals, rationale for why we're here. That's all been done now, and I'm looking forward to it being very inclusive and without any of those things that went before, but still getting hard-hitting, topical, etc., etc. And great that people want to turn up, contribute.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Glenn. We have 2 new people, Jen.
Yeah, hold on, I'm messaging Stephanie. Daryl's here, and Darlene. Daryl and Darlene, 2 Ds.
2 Ds. We're glad. We're glad to see both of you. I see Daryl all the time. We're on a broadcast on Monday night and talking doctrine, and he's a dear friend, and also, of course, Darlene, who's a friend of the show for a very long time, and we don't talk as much as we used to. But I was talking to Jen the other day, thinking that by doing TSL up again, for me personally, I think it's I see it as a very good thing. It's like a part of me over the past year. I've been focused on other things, and that's great. I have so many good things to focus on with Jen being in my life. I have no problem saying that. It's been wonderful, but I feel like there's a part of me that's been kind of set aside, and that's the part that enjoys doing TSL. Don't get me wrong, I've been on other broadcasts and I've gotten enjoyment out of those, but things change, and not having this particular family, this TSL family, because I believe it is and can be a family. I think I've been missing something. I noticed when we did the first test show after I was done, I just felt elated, even though it was just a test. Part of it is the camaraderie that I feel like the three of us have. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And, we still talk in Messenger and sometimes with voices, not just the typing and stuff. But it's different. TSL is different for the three of us to talk to each other and have other people involved in the chat as well is a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah.
On my end, when we quit a year ago, there was a lot of stuff going on with Jen and I. I'd moved to Virginia to help with the store at the time, and we were finding out fairly quickly that wasn't going to be the thing for us to do, and it was kind of a stressful time. So when we quit doing TSL at the time, I felt a little bit of relief. Not that I didn't enjoy it or anything, but for me, I wanted to focus on the things that were happening in my personal life. And so that definitely served a purpose, and feel like I'm in a different place now. I feel like I'm ready to start adding some things back that I feel like worked. That was not correct. It's not a correct sentence. That's okay.
We forgive you.
Thank you. It's all about forgiveness.
Yeah. And I do want to mention, just to be transparent, and it could be beneficial, especially with us getting into talking about relationships and differences of opinions and communication stuff. We had some miscommunication with Glenn, and the three of us didn't talk for a little while.
Yeah.
After TSL ended. And that was really difficult because Glenn's been a part of our story, our personal story between the two of us,
Yeah.
unfolding for the last 2 years. And so we finally all got back together and chatted through, and there was some misunderstandings. And it just goes to show that when you do that, when you take the time and actually reach back out and discuss things and find out if there was some miscommunication or assumptions made, more times than not there are.
Right.
And it makes the friendship, the relationship stronger when you can work through those things. I think it's something that's overlooked quite a bit, and I can only imagine the carnage of relationships that could have been brought to a much more awesome level, in a deeper connection, if people would take that time to reach back out and talk about it. So just wanted to share that.
No, that's great. I mean, communication is super important, and it's not just a platitude. It really is important. The beauty of the three of us is we would rather bring things to the table and talk about it right then. Glenn's a big proponent of this as well. And I know, speaking personally in our relationship, mine and Jen's, we don't hold anything back. Because what I've seen, I've been an observer of other people's relationships for quite some time, including my own parents that got divorced when I was 19 or 20, when they got remarried, and then it didn't work out again for a second time. And you can't just see all the stuff going on and not learn something from it. And not bringing things to the table and allowing things to fester, keeping quiet, stuffing is another term.
Yeah.
Where you don't bring things up. Maybe you're afraid that the other person is going to react or whatever. But then what happens is, like a boiler, like in a boiler room, if you don't let the steam out, eventually it blows up. And then so when you do share something, you get a mess. It's a booming mess.
Yeah.
Which isn't good. But if you say things as they come up, then you can avoid that happen. 2 more people, Jen. Now, if you get tired of doing this, I'm happy to say hello to people.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. I love
Okay.
saying hey to people.
2
So we've
more.
got Nathan. Nathan is in the house. And Brother Dave. Good to
Sure.
see you guys. Lovely, lovely to see you. And oh no, I thought I missed one, but I didn't. Okay.
Thank you. Brother Dave, would you do me a favor if you don't mind, sir? And I know you have Renee's contact information. I remember that she had said to let her know when we're starting, and I completely forgot because she said her notifications sometimes don't work. If you would send her the link to tonight's broadcast, if you don't mind, and let her know we're here, because I did send her a text and let her know we were coming on, so she had planned on coming and saying hello. Maybe she's busy doing something else, but just she'd asked me to do that and I forgot. Thank you. So Nathan, I'm glad you're here, and I can't promise that tonight there'll be some ukulele playing, but as I said at the beginning of the show, it's such a hard word to say sometimes if you're not thinking about it. Ukulele. See, now that was right. And he calls Jen Songbird, which I love. I think that's great. And he just really loves the ukulele playing and your voice, which I think is fair. I'm probably biased, obviously. Maybe a little. But if someone else outside loves your voice and playing, and we're not listening to Glenn on this particular topic, then that's good. That's some confirmation for us. Yeah, Nathan says, "Hey guys, wow, totally different audience here. I've been waiting so long for TSL." Yes, different audience. Some people are the same. Gia and Darlene and Janet all listened before. I know Brother Dave had popped in from time to time. Daryl had also popped in. So there's some of the same people, but there's new people as well, which we're glad to have. I think most people here have been here before, except for I don't know who Long Duck Dong is. Yeah. There's been that one comment, and I haven't seen anything else. Doesn't mean they're not still here. Just I don't know who that is. You know, you can change your name to anything. You could oh yeah, be anybody. Janet says both Jason and Jen have lovely voices for sure. Thank you. That's wonderful. What about Glenn? Does Glenn not?
I was just going to say that. Wait a minute. Oh no, Jan's gonna be like, oh crap.
Yeah. When I was saying earlier that people have, I might have been on a test show, but I was talking about how people have wondered when TSL would return. Nathan is one of the biggest proponents of that. He's written me lots of emails, and I haven't answered to all of them. Sometimes I think he's just sharing stuff. It doesn't necessarily need an answer, but he's asked for a long time. He says he misses TSL, and he had come across TSL after we've been on for a while, and I think you're in New Zealand, aren't you? Do I have that right? And then he would download the shows and listen to them. So he listened to them all. I think he said he listened to each one, and that's a lot of episodes to go through. Some of them were over 2 hours long. Some of them were pretty long, actually. So thank you. I appreciate you doing that. Let's see. How's everybody doing tonight? Do you have any questions that you want us to answer? Again, you guys drive the show tonight because there's not a particular topic. It's going to be based on just kind of talking to you guys. I feel like I'm doing most of the talking. Does anyone else have anything that you want to share with the listeners, with the peoples?
Yeah, I'll ask. There's a lot of people here I don't really know. Maybe if we could get a little bit of background on some of the people in chat, that'd be really great.
That's fair enough. Does anyone feel like just saying a few words about yourself, maybe where you're from, if you don't mind doing that? And
yeah, we can read it.
Yeah, we could definitely read it.
Where are you guys at?
Yeah, I think it's 200 character limit, so we're not asking you to tell your whole life story unless you want to, but a couple things about yourself if you don't mind. Who chooses the song? Journey's Wake says, "Who?" That's the first question. Who chooses the song? Glenn, talk about. That's a good thing to talk about. Is how do you pick the songs for the topics?
It's you set me up, didn't you?
I didn't ask the question.
Sorry. Well, if I was going to be committed to the mental asylum, if I spill this one, you're going to probably get me to the front door. But I'm happy to share it. Basically, I just, how do I put it? Connect with the universe, and it all just turns up. You need me
Yeah,
to
okay.
explain that a bit better?
Yeah. No, yeah.
No, yeah, whatever. This is an open forum, so you can share whatever you want to share.
I can share the story of how all this came about,
Okay.
if you wish.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Probably on 20 plus years ago, I connected with a lady in Sydney, and we didn't spend that much time together, and she gave me a CD. She's a very sort of alternate type lady, lovely. And
Yeah.
she gave me a CD, and she said something really weird. She was taking me to the airport. She said, when you listen to this, you'll understand. And I thought, that is really weird. What does that mean? For goodness sake. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. So I went home. I got my headphones out, and it was Enya, but I lay on the floor, put my headphones on, and got so far in, and it just took me to another place, and I just was gutted. I just cried for 30 minutes, like a sob, not just cried, just gutted myself.
Yeah.
And that was really the start of it. It was just a way to connect with something that I don't understand, and I learned that worked incredibly well. It just was amazing, and ever since then, I've used that tool to connect, and that's how I write the shows and get the songs. They really do come from another place. They don't come from me. The words don't come for the shows. I
Okay.
just have to sit there and listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but there it is.
I don't think it sounds crazy at all. So do you listen to the song first and that helps you come up with the topics, or do you think about the topics and try to find a song that fits it? I think that's a fair question.
That's a good question. It doesn't work in any particular way, because I could be, getting dinner and I'll think of something, or I could put music on and I could think of something that way, or I could know absolutely nothing and I'll just start shoving bits and pieces on through the headphones, and if usually nothing twigs, but occasionally something will just drop in and that will just start it off. So
Okay.
that's why I could write a show in 30 minutes, or I could write a show in 12 hours. I have no idea. It just
Sure.
it does not really give me, there's no pattern. You just have to wait till something shows up, and when it does, you gracefully accept it.
Right. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
Jen,
No worries.
two more people came in at the same time.
Let's see. Am I missing them? Oh, More Than a Flame. Yes, I said
Yeah.
that too.
And our
And
buddy.
Torben.
Yes.
Torben. Hey, guys. So great to see you here. Thanks for popping in.
Torben from Denmark. And More Than a Flame, that's our buddy Joel.
Joel.
He and I were part of a broadcast last night on Talking Doctrine, and had a very great conversation. It's almost a 4-hour broadcast, but if anyone wants to hear a little bit more from Joel, you can go over and listen to that. Also, he has a channel, and it's a lot of different things, but it's mainly truther stuff. So if you're into what people would term conspiracy theories and things like that, there's a lot of interesting stuff over there. Also, spirituality for Joel as well. So they're kind of mixed over there. But it's got many great broadcasts for you guys to listen to if you care to. I'm glad that you're both here. And now this is the first time that since I've only just recently met Joel, this would be his first time here. So everybody try to make him feel welcome in the chat. I would appreciate that. Also, while I'm thinking about it, whoever is part of tonight's broadcast that thinks that they're going to be regular listeners and you would like to be a moderator on the channel, we definitely, right now, everything seems to be going very smoothly. We haven't had any problems, and certainly everyone is being more than polite, and that's all we ask for. As we said at the beginning of the show with the write-up, no agendas here, And I think as these topics roll out, we'll be saying more about that. So I don't have to go on for long. But all we ask of you is that you show us the same respect that we show you. And that's just be polite in the chat, and just care. You can talk about whatever. You don't have to be talking about what we're talking about. You can just enjoy yourselves. We don't want to get into any kind of name calling and finger pointing and things like that. There's plenty of that out there if you are into that sort of thing, or if you want to see conflict and all that. I mean, have at it. I mean, if you have a Facebook account, you know that there's plenty of that out there.
Yep.
We want to make a safe place here, and that brings me to my whole idea. Part of so Jen does all the artwork for the show, and she does a wonderful job. And when we started TSL, I had talked to her about my idea. I love diners. I always have, ever since I was a kid. I used to beg my parents that we could go eat at a diner. I'm sure I drove my dad crazy. But they have one particular diner. I think it's in Michigan. I said Ohio last time, but I think it's in Michigan. And it's like a 50s theme diner. You know, it's got the aquamarine and kind of neon colors and the neon sign outside. They even have the little jukeboxes at each of the tables, so you can play different songs on the little jukebox. You know, pop your quarter then. And I just love that. And so we wanted TSL to be like an open diner. And I have adopted. Jen made a new sign for me for this go around with TSL, but before that, I had the same sign the whole time, which is just an open sign. And that's because I see people as having a sign, whether they know it or not. They have a sign over their head. It's either open or closed. I could be wrong about that, but that's how I feel. And I want to be an open person, which means that I want for people to feel safe talking to me and sharing their stories with me. And I want to find people that are the same as well. Yeah. Not the same person, but someone that's open to sharing and open to an authentic relationship. So we look at TSL as a diner. I do. Let me rephrase. I look at it as an open diner where you can come, and we don't serve any food here necessarily. I was saying on one of the test shows, maybe we can. There used to be a way in some of the chats where people could send like different food items, like donuts and drinks and stuff like that. And I think I played poker one time where you could send people like coffee or beer or whatever, virtual drinks. But the idea of a diner for me, because it's a pretty idyllic place in my memory, that's kind of what I see this as.
Yeah. And people are free to come and go as they please.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, we want you to show up and join this with us. But, you know, we're not going to, if you come a few times and don't come around for a while, that's fine. I mean, again, right now, according to my statistics here, we have 19 viewers. So for this being the first time we've been back in a year, I am absolutely delighted by that. 19 people have taken time out of their Sunday to join us, and I'm absolutely thrilled. So thank you guys again for joining. Okay, more questions. Let's go to the chat and see if anyone has. Does anyone have any more questions, or maybe I missed some while I was going on and on?
Let's see. I was checking to see if there were any other ones.
Oh, you know what? I saw a question from Brother Dave a little while ago. I don't know exactly where it is, but he was asking, can we listen to songs and review them? I'm paraphrasing what he asks. Sure. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. So if you have a particular song you want us to listen to, we can listen to it. We obviously can't play it on air because we don't want to risk any copyright strikes. But that brings up another thing. So this is fairly new. So Glenn is our producer, and I'm very grateful that he's willing and has taken the time to learn how to do this. And it's still in its infancy, but today we were able to do it without any help. And so we're super thrilled about that. So there is a way to play an intro song and an outro song. We haven't played around much with that, but there are royalty-free songs certainly available on YouTube and other places. So once we get going and we know how to, Glenn knows how to run everything, then we may play around with that. Who knows? We might have an intro song. And a lot of the broadcasts out there, the live broadcasts, they don't play around with that too much. But I think it adds something. It makes it seem like more of a, I don't know, like a legitimate broadcast. If there's a little bit of intro music, maybe we could find. Jen, you'd be good at that, helping me find intro song, right?
That's true. I could do that.
Yeah.
I could help out.
Yeah, YouTube does have a lot available in the studio on YouTube. There's, I don't know, maybe thousands different songs. I haven't really played with that a whole lot, but I might try to go through that and find something, see if anything. Darlene says, "Can you tell we missed you? Missed yous." Yeah. Yeah, I think just by showing up, I think you show that you miss us. And again, we appreciate that.
Aw.
Awesome.
Glenn said Jenna's softened Crips.
Yeah. Who said that?
Glenn.
Oh, yeah, he knows. He knows.
He knows.
I think that's delightful. I'm glad that I've been softened. Glenn used to say I had some hard edges, and I think that's true. Been through a lot and a lot of betrayal. Just like anybody, I would assume I'm not the only one that's had friends that you go down the road a little ways with them. I realize now that sometimes people are only meant to be in your life for a short time. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be friends with everyone. I wanted to know as many people as I could. And because of the whole story thing, I wanted to hear people's story. Still do. But I've learned, especially before Jen came around, I'd learned that I'm better alone because I can't trust people. So I became distrusting of a lot of people.
And
but,
isolated.
Yeah, isolated. That's true. I mean, if you're isolated, Simon Garfunkel had a song, and it was kind of ironic, and but I'm a rock on an island. And the idea is if you're isolated, then you don't feel any pain. But of course, being alone is pain in and of itself, especially if you're built like I am to be a person that wants to be involved with people. I'm definitely a people person. That never changed. So if you're a people person who's isolating, then you can imagine the negative effect that could have on you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And speaking of that, the quarantining and the masks and 6 feet away, and it's very isolating. I think it's been really lonely for a lot of people. And I forgot how wonderful it was to see people's faces.
Yeah.
And hug people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I miss hugs.
Yeah. Yeah. We recently, one of our favorite shows, the two of us, is This Is Us. And they hadn't been back in a while, but they had the season premiere the other night. So we watched it together. And unfortunately, they decided to tackle all the virus stuff and all that. And they're wearing masks and not giving each other hugs and things like that. And we just kind of looked at each other. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, TV, in my opinion, TV, unless you're watching the news and you don't want to escape, it should be an escape from what you're dealing with every day. And we'd hope that is what it would be, but it wasn't in some ways. Now, it ended up being a good show. Didn't ruin it for me. But right at the beginning, we're just kind of like, oh, gosh, really? With all the masks and viruses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They also kind of sped forward in time. We were talking about that.
I was supposed to bring that up.
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, they're like all the twins, all three of the siblings just turned 40 in this episode. And when they do the flashbacks in the other seasons of them being born, it's obviously the 70s. So they like skip 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they're just trying to be relevant.
Yeah.
And maybe address some of the issues that are going on in the world right now. But it kind of was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have preferred them to have not even addressed it.
Yeah.
I think that would would have been better, but that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. We talked about me being softened. Let's see. Why? Okay. Nathan has a joke. Why couldn't Beethoven find his teacher? Because he was hiding.
I don't get it.
His teacher was actually Hyden.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Very good. Where's my drum set?
Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum.
There you go. For those of you that don't know, and I didn't know this about Nathan, but he's very, very, he's a really smart fella. He sure is. He's sent me, like I had mentioned earlier, lots of emails, and some of them are about physics and things like that. We were having a flat Earth versus globe discussion. He does not believe in flat Earth, which is fine. See, the thing is, I don't have to agree with someone to be their friend. It's okay if we agree. The term agree to disagree is wonderful.
Yeah.
I can.
And it's a wonderful kind of friendship to have.
Mhm.
When you have it, it's fascinating and just amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it's been with Glenn, because Glenn is an atheist and we're both Christians, and being able to talk and be open and share without judgment or pointing fingers or shaming and guilt or
Mhm.
just all of that stuff. It's been just such a wonderfully well-rounded friendship and calm, just very calm. So it's great.
I would agree. Before I comment on more of that, Darlene actually went to the trouble of addressing us and putting it in the chat. If you put at True Story Live, like Darlene has done, it highlights it for me, makes it really easier to see. So I guess when I was talking about the whole friend thing, Darlene said only to find they were no friends at all. And that's true. Yeah. Darlene says she's been there. I certainly understand. I'm not the only one for sure.
That's one of the hardest things to realize. When you think someone's your friend and then you go through something hard with them and you find out that they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to trust people and then find out they're not trustworthy.
Yeah.
We talked about on one of the test shows. I like Glenn's aspect on this, the idea of not putting any energy into distrusting someone. Glenn, do you want to talk about that a little? I think it's worth discussing since we deleted the test broadcast and not everyone got a chance to hear that.
Yeah, sure. No worries. I had this email discussion with a gentleman who used to come on TSL, but he said to me, I just cannot trust anyone. Just, they've got to, it takes so long for me to trust someone, and they've got to prove to me that they're trustworthy. And I said, well, I come from the other side in that I tend to trust everybody up front, because he said, oh, how can you do that? I said, it's just a state of mind. You just trust everyone up front and until they show you they can't be trusted. And it's just such a easy way to do it, because you're not forever thinking, oh, is this person going to let me down? You know what I mean? You're not forever thinking, can I trust? Can I not? Just let it roll along, and it works out. And if people aren't trustworthy, they very quickly show their true colors. And if you can trust them, well, they just confirm what you thought in the first place. So it's all, for me, easy as.
Yeah, and then you were saying you don't put any energy, even if you find out someone is not trustworthy. You're just able to move on and no problem, like you just said.
No, well, Sandra and I used to sell Persian carpets, and we'd just say to people, "Oh, look, come along, take the carpet, put it in your home for a week, bring it back." A couple of times, people stole the carpets. Well, what are you going to do? Punish all the good people out there because you've got a couple of rotten apples? No, I'm not. If they feel they really need to steal that carpet, well, they can have it.
Right.
It just, if I start going to court and trying to chase, that's just all this rubbish, trying to chase people down for money. It just doesn't help. It's just waste my time. I'll be better off doing something else, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have a question for you in regards to that approach,
Sure.
Glenn. So, the times that I've done that, and it was a little more out of naivete than it was having this idea in mind of how I was going to do it. um, but for me, I don't want to say I get attached to people really quick, but I guess I kind of do. And so when there's trust, at least coming from my side, I tend to sort of depend on people. It's like this, and it might sound bad when I say dependence. I don't mean like, crazy psycho stalker.
No.
But so when a betrayal happens or I find out that they aren't trustworthy,
Mhm.
it's very painful and hurtful. And so how do you navigate that if I'm sure you're doing it a little differently than I just explained. So like, are you, when you trust someone out the gate, are you sharing things with them? Are you being open and authentic and transparent with them? And if they turn out to be a schmuck and not trustworthy, it's just like water off a duck's back. Like, how does that work for you?
Wow, great question, I think.
Oh, it's a good question, but an easy answer. If anybody is, my philosophy is be 100% authentic, tell the truth, and if they just basically do something that betrays that trust, it's water off a duck's back. Move on. Simple.
Yeah. And
Right.
it's probably because for you, your identity isn't wrapped up in what other people do or believe about you. Because I think in the past, because my identity was attached in what other people thought of me instead of what I thought or knew of myself, when I was ditched or ghosted or treated really badly and the friendship ended, I took it as a personal affront, like I had done something wrong, like there was something wrong with me.
Right.
So I think that's where the painful part came in. Whereas if I were where I am now, I could just be like, it's not anything I did. They're just in their own place and
Mhm.
did their own thing. And it's more of a reflection on who they are than on me. So interesting.
I think if you can, I temper that, what should I call it, that initial trust with my intuition, though. I mean, if something doesn't feel right, even though I'm open, I'm also aware that if I'm getting a message that something is not quite right, I'm still aware of it. It's in
Yeah.
the back of my mind. But
Okay.
but the last thing I want to do is to preempt someone, because you can get it so wrong. The person who comes across as a self-opinionated, gruff sort of person can be the sweetest, most wonderful person in the world if only you take the time to get to know them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I tend to be a little bit of an oversharer. And it's because I love going into the deep stuff. And it's interesting because I've been reading a little bit more about certain personality disorders and stuff, just becoming educated. And there's a lot of people that are like, beware of people that overshare right away. And I was like, oh
Right.
no. But I have slowed myself down. Like you had said, you're still somewhat trusting, but you're just kind of on the lookout, not suspicious or, psycho suspicious, but just
Mhm.
kind of peeking at the person as you're getting to know them, instead of oversharing so much. Because some people take that and they use it as weaponry later on.
Oh
As
yeah.
I've discovered, I'm like, oh no.
Especially narcissists. They
Yeah.
definitely will use that. It looks like this particular conversation is one that people are interested in. There's a good conversation going on in the chat. So I'll go back up just a little bit in an attempt just to include everyone. So Darlene said to Glenn, I'm the same way, Glenn, and have been burned, but hey, it's on them, not me. Ask yourself this: would you want to be your friend? I can say I would.
Awesome point.
Great comment, Darlene. Gia Loves Jesus says people tend to artificially trust people just to be liked.
Ah.
Uh,
That's interesting.
I would
So
agree.
That is not me.
how would
No
you
way.
artificially trust someone? I'm curious. Do you
Pretend
know,
to trust.
Jason?
Well, I would assume she means that you pretend to trust them, like you just put your trust up there so they think that you trust them
Oh,
to
okay.
be liked. So you're not really trusting, which
You're
that's
just
the
acting
whole.
like you do.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that we'll.
Yeah, but you're not being authentic, are you, by doing it?
No.
No, I don't think you are. And then Gia says a couple lines down, and this is something that we can talk about a little bit. Very suspicious when people love bomb you.
Yeah.
So talk about love bombing, Jen. What is love
Oh,
bombing, and who
gosh.
does it? What is it? Who does it?
Manipulative people, narcissists, definitely. And I think, gosh, it's when people just shower you with compliments and, like, I guess if you're speaking of a relationship, it's when things move really fast and someone's like, you're my soulmate and
Yeah.
I want to marry you after 1 week.
Right.
Or just going on and on about how beautiful you are and how talented and this and that. And it's so overwhelming. I see it as this tidal wave that sort of knocks all the red flags down that you normally would see.
Mm.
Because it feels good. I mean, when people
Yeah.
compliment you, and love bomb you, it feels really good. And normally people that are manipulative, they seek out, it's almost like they've got like radar to see people that have been neglected, whether it's in childhood or past relationships, or they've been abused or traumatized. And so
Mhm.
they can pick out people that are thirsty and desperate to have someone see them and to have
Mhm.
someone see their beauty or their talent, or to see something in them other than negative or bad or ugly or
Mhm.
whatever, so that when you get love bombed, I think you can get addicted to it. It's like this shot of emotional heroin.
Mhm.
And so you really and truly, it's meant to blind you from seeing red flags, and love bombing in its own right can be a red flag,
Mhm.
if somebody moves too fast. And I've actually had friends like this though too, that are very complimentary, and it feels great, and you're like, wow, this person's like my cheerleader. And then down the road, it just, things happen. You're like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
This is
Absolutely.
weird. This is strange. Yeah. So
That's great.
great point, Gia.
That was a great point.
Yeah.
There's actually lots to draw from in the chat here. One of the things Brother Dave said, I stopped trying to meet new people around my area and just have embraced my aloneness. In reference to, I believe I was talking earlier about isolating and being alone.
Yeah.
And then Nathan followed up with, you can be surrounded by people and still be alone.
Oh my gosh. That is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. I'll share a story. Um, and this isn't every church, but I visited a couple of churches where, being the new person coming in,
Mhm.
and I don't think it was anything malicious or, I don't think it was, I think it's really easy for people in any kind of gathering to be in a clique and to not be, be happy and approachable, but not necessarily inclusive, like actively inclusive. And I was going to a church one time for a year, and I even was on the worship team, getting involved to serve, but also getting involved to connect with people,
Uh-huh.
and sharing a little bit about what I was going through at the time in my past marriage. And it just was, talk about being alone. If you're alone in a marriage, that's really bad too. It's one of the worst alone feelings.
Right.
But being in a room with hundreds of people and
Yeah.
they're Christians, and it's at a church, and feeling invisible, and just it is a very, it's like I would have felt less alone if I was by myself in a
Right.
room somewhere. It's
Right.
just really not good, very painful.
Right.
So great point, Nathan. Man, that's a hard one.
So Brother Dave says, I mean, I see people at church and know tons of people in the area and say hi when I see them around town, but I hang out by myself mainly.
Yeah.
And More Than a Flame, which is our buddy Joel, says, because this is a spiritual war, I know that every man is a liar. I can expect to be let down. But if I know someone genuinely loves God, it's all I really look for. That's interesting.
So what's all he really looks for?
If they love God.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm out.
Right. Right. But I understand his perspective, but I want to read Gia love Jesus comment. Just give me a minute to find it because this is relevant, I believe. Okay, sorry, just a minute. Okay, so she's talking to Nathan and she says, Nathan Gruber, after all the YouTube arguments / debates, good old church don't look too bad. So I'm going to tie that into what Joel's saying. I understand that perspective, not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I have found that now you're saying someone genuinely loves God, okay? So if they genuinely love God, I see that. But what I have found, especially with recent events, just like Gia had mentioned, with all the YouTube arguments and debates, etc., just saying that you love God or just labeling yourself Christian, to me, doesn't seem to be enough. To me, especially after meeting Glenn, to me, more than just about saying that you love God, it's about being an authentic, open person. And I find Glenn, even though he doesn't profess to be a believer in God, he still is an authentic person that can be trusted despite that. And I have called him before, said he acts more like a believer than people that profess to be believers. And I think that's been proven, especially recently, at least in my mind, that there are a lot of people out there that they seem to care about the title and not what the title should come with, which is the behavior. And again, that's something that we'll get more into, but these are great comments. Let's see.
John said the whole narcissistic relationship is bizarre to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't comprehend someone who plays relationship like it's a chess game, not acknowledging that they're destroying their own as well.
Yeah.
Does he mean your own person that you're with? Or wonder what he meant by your own
Destroying themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say hello to Marble Water. Hello, how late are you? I don't know what time you came in, but we've been on a little over an hour, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever time you guys come in, we're just glad that you're here, and we're glad you came over, Marble Water. He's a good guy.
Yeah. You know what I want to say real quick is if anybody is dealing with a narcissistic relationship, a really good book that Cripps and I both read is called The Human Magnet Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say his name's John Peterson, but it's amazing how codependence, people that have codependency issues or people pleasing tendencies are perfect matches for narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because someone who is an empath and has some codependent issues or a people pleaser, they're born givers. You love to give out of your heart. You just love it. It brings so much joy to you to give and to serve other people, especially someone that you love. And narcissists are born takers. And the book really describes well how it's kind of like a dance. You've got someone who loves to give and you have someone that loves to take.
Mm-hmm.
And it just meshes and you get enmeshed with each other. And the best way to get unenmeshed
Unenmeshed. Okay.
Unenmeshed
Yeah.
is to get your self-worth, your self-love back up, because one of the reasons that you give and give and give and ignore yourself and give till you're empty and even past that is because you just are lacking in self-worth. And that was the issue that I was dealing with in my past marriage. And luckily I met some pretty awesome friends that helped me see the situation I was in and helped me find my self-worth, and I got out of there. But a really, really good book, The Human Magnet Syndrome. That's what that's called.
All right, don't start yawning yet. It's the light.
Thanks.
Let's see. I had okay. Nathan says, talking to Stephanie, it's useful to learn narcissistic traits so you can know when it's happening. It takes two to fall for a lie. That's true. There are a lot of people who have traits. Narcissistic traits doesn't mean they're necessarily a narcissist. Some people have narcissistic parents and they learn it that way, like they pick up on some things. Nathan says that his dad is a narcissist. I learned to not play into their trap. So apparently Nathan has had some experience with this as well. And in the climate today, my opinion is that there are more narcissists that exist in the world right now than there probably ever has been. Maybe that's not true because of social media. We're just more aware of.
Yeah, seeing it more.
There. Yeah. Brother Dave is talking to John. He says, I dated a narcissist a few years ago. They're incredibly good at screwing your mind up and acting like they care, but they don't. They have zero feelings.
Yes.
Very true. And then Gia followed up with narcissism relationships is very toxic.
Yeah, it's very toxic.
I agree. You're dealing with someone that wants to use you as a battery. It's like if anyone's seen The Matrix, it's like they hook you up to a battery and they're sucking the life right out of you.
You know, I watched a video today that it described it even better than that. They said it's like you're a helium tank in order to puff them up, to blow them up, to help them float. And I thought, wow, that's a really, really great word picture.
Wow, that is.
I was like, dang.
I was imagining in my head as you described it. That's
yeah, a helium tank. Because they need people around them that are going to puff them up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much why you're there. It's the relationship, as I've heard a couple of different channels say, it's transactional. You're like a car that they put gas into to get them from point A to point B.
Wow.
And this one video said, she was saying, you know, that the person driving the car doesn't ask the car how they're feeling that day or if they need to stop off anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just, it's transactional. It's like a vehicle to get them from somewhere to another place.
That's great, babe. That's awesome. Really fits into what people are talking about. So Journey's Wake says narcs have found godhood. They need fuel. It's like this is before you were telling us about that analogy. Something they want but can never obtain. So they're insatiable. It's not like they find you and then that's enough. They have to keep getting and getting.
No, and you give more and give more and give more, and it's never enough, and you can never win, and the goalpost always moves, and the rules always change, and it's hell.
Right. And then Marble Water right after that says, notice how narcissists always want and manage to move up in an organization. Sometimes I wonder how bad that is in the church. I wanted to respond to this because there actually has been it was a couple years ago, I think 2018. There was a study done and they confirmed that unfortunately churches narcissists gravitate towards being pastors. Now that makes sense because not only do you have one battery like in a relationship, but you have several. And if you do a good job, if you're at least good, you're a good speaker, then you have people coming up to you and telling you how great you are or how great the sermon was, or, oh, you really touched me, you did this and that. So it becomes more about the pastor than it is about why people are there in the first place, which would generally be, I think, to worship God and to fellowship and to learn from the Bible and things like that. But instead you have a cult of personality, literally and figuratively. But I read that. It was a fascinating study. So it just ties into what Marble Water said. Completely agree with that. Let's see. Gia Love Jesus says they are relationships that drain you and they are relationships that just energize you. Good point. Also ties into what we're talking about. My relationship with Jen, I've never felt drained for a single minute with anything between us. Not for a single second do I ever feel drained with Jen.
Ditto.
And yeah, thank you. And it doesn't matter what we go through. It doesn't matter how good things are on the outside of our relationship. Of course it matters, but it doesn't affect us. There's no drain. She gives me energy, but the thing is, I give energy back. That's how you hope it works. That's the way I believe that God set it up to work. that both people draw off each other, and there's never an empty tank.
Yeah, it's and especially like, well, I know this is coming from a believer standpoint, but I feel like too when you have your, I guess your I don't know if energy is the right word, but if you're
Sure.
plugged into God, it just feels like there's just no bottom to it, and you're pulling from that, and you're loving another person through that. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Never ending.
Nathan says, my mom's like that, Jen. Dad's a narc. He gets angry that she's so giving. That's what narcs do. They complain people aren't giving, then criticize when they do give.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
And then Janet says, this is a great comment. Janet says, it's painful to watch women who have their head in the sand and put up with narcs because they are satisfied with love bombs, wealth, social status, etc.
Yes.
And then I think, Joel, more than a flame, think about my comments about the pastors being narcissists. Not all of them, but I'm saying they gravitate. The study was about they gravitate towards that. He says they get a stage to stand on for sure.
Yeah.
So they can share. They're supposed to be shepherds, biblically speaking. They're supposed to be shepherds. And again, Gia, I can't find it, but she had made a comment and said something spiritual. And again, we're not saying don't say things spiritual. I mean, we want everyone to share from your heart, whatever
Yeah.
it is, and you can share your spiritual stuff in here. That's not the problem. All we are saying is that we're not going to just be focused on doctrine for the topics of the show. That's all we're saying. Glenn, even though he's not a believer, as indicated by the other broadcast, he's more than willing to talk about this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
So it's
and
not,
share his point of view too, which is cool.
right, exactly. So it's not off the table. We're not telling you guys that you can't talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about as it pertains to your beliefs and personal things, spirituality, any of that.
Yeah.
So I hope that's more clear. Okay. You guys, Glenn, I don't want you to feel left out here. Do you have anything that's been said that you want to comment on at all?
I do. Gia.
Oh, right.
I'd just like her to, she says the best relationships are when both are looking to Jesus before they look at each other. Well, I'd like to know a bit more, because I don't look to Jesus, but I think I have a fantastic relationship, marriage, etc. I don't
Sure.
know how it could get better, but then again, we all come from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So if
You
you'd
know
like
what?
to comment, I'd like to
Oh.
hear it. Anyone
Sure.
want to comment?
I was gonna say that when it comes to two believers like Jason and I, we don't look to each other to make us whole.
Mhm.
The whole Jerry Maguire, you complete me crap.
Yeah.
And it comes from God and from within ourselves. I think, and you can fix this if I'm wrong, Glenn, but I think with you and Sandra and how you've explained it, it's not that way either. We've talked about this many times, where you're not trying to find your identity in Sandra or her or you, or trying to find your wholeness in each other, but you kind of bring what you have to the table and meet in the middle. Say more about that.
100% correct. I think after a few relationships where I think basically I went through it and the red flag started to diminish, but I got to the point where I was looking for someone 100% independent, does not need me, accepts me for who I am, and if they don't like it, they can go jump. I mean, I
Yeah.
was just pragmatic about it. If you want to stay, the front door's open. If you want to leave, go. Simple as that. It just worked perfectly. It was just fantastic, So no distress, or oh, am I good enough, or what do I want? It's there right in front of you. What you see, what you get. If you like it, you stay. If you don't, you leave. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what Jen says. For us, God is at the top of our relationship, and we look to Him. I'm not just like she articulated well enough. I'm just saying I agree. I'm not looking to Jen to fulfill me. I'm looking to God to fulfill me. So I think in Glenn's case, he doesn't have that. So he has learned a lot of life and through relationships, as he said. And so he's met someone that is on the same page with him. And so they're very giving to each other and authentic. So as we mentioned earlier, bringing things to the table and not allowing things to build up until you're like a boiler that explodes. So that can work. I know there'd be people from a Christian perspective that disagree with that. I mean, we've had plenty of conversations a year ago about TSL, and there are people that believe without the Holy Spirit, you can't love someone else. And I didn't agree with it then, and I still don't agree with it. I believe that God still gives gifts to people. And I think that in the case of Glenn and Sandra, they've been given a gift, whether they recognize it as that or not. That's my perspective from the outside. But the point is, that's the way Glenn sees his relationship. And I'm not going to tell him, well, no, that's not really what you have. You don't have that. It's an illusion. No, it's his relationship, and he can enjoy that. He doesn't need my permission or anyone else's permission to do that. So,
But Cripps, there's still a spiritual component to it, a higher level.
sure,
Although it may not be what you call spiritual, it still exists.
sure.
And whether it's based on a value system or all of those things that you may well find in the Bible, it is of course critical to the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I see it above. Look, I don't see too many relationships like it around, but and I would, you can speak for yourself, but do you see many relationships like what you have with Jen around the place?
None. None. I see zero relationships like ours. And that's not a bragging thing. I'm just saying, like I said, I've been an observer of relationships for quite some time, and I haven't seen anything like this. And I think that helped me to determine what kind of relationship I wanted. When Jen and I when we were friends and we first started getting into a relationship, we had discussions on this, that we don't want a relationship like everyone else has. We want something different and better. We want to be upfront and authentic. And I have watched people that seem to love each other, at least they say they do or think they do at the beginning, and then down the road they're divorced. I mean, I went through a divorce, and Jen went through a divorce, and the reasons we did that is because I believe we both chose a person that wasn't for us, and they weren't on the same page with us. I mean, they're pure and simple. So you have to find someone that you're at least on the same page with, and being authentic helps, and bringing things to the table right away definitely helps.
Yeah.
So I have no model. The closest thing that I can think of, my dad's parents, their relationship was not perfect, but they were together 70 years. My grandfather died at 94, and my grandma died at age 90. So they got married very young, and they had a long time to work on it. Very long time to work on it. And they had problems. I've heard stories about in their younger marriage when, things didn't work out and they almost broke up and things like that. But they worked through it. If you're committed to the relationship and there's no abuse, you can work through a lot of things and you can learn. If you don't know how to do this, if you're unable to communicate properly or learn how the other person ticks and make adjustments, you can learn it. It is a learned trait. Jen and I had both learned from bad experiences. So when we came into this relationship, we knew what we didn't want.
Yeah.
We knew what we didn't want. And so we started right from the beginning to communicate properly, and that has continued. And it is not a honeymoon phase. We're not even married yet, but we've been together for over 2 years now. And it's just fantastic. I hope that as we continue down the road, I hope we can be a model for other people to exemplify. That would be That'd be awesome. Who knows? We might have some kind of marital counseling or marital ministry of some sort. But part of that is just being who we are around other people. And
Yeah.
if their eyes are open, then they can see it. So hopefully we're helping in that way as well. On the topic of narcissism, John had a good comment. He says, it's a question rather. Is it true that a narc is an abused, traumatized child that lies, quote, fakes it till they makes it, unquote, kind of inept personality that learned to be socially excellent salesman in relationships through lies?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Definitely yes. My ex posed as a Christian, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And yeah, they're very, very good at faking it till they make it and being very convincing. And he's actually a really good salesman. We had a business together, and he was a very, very good salesman, I think, for that very reason. But yeah, I would say yes, John, for sure. Fake it till they make it. And people say a lot of the times that when someone's observing you, you get that there's this term called a narcissistic stare. And I know not all of them do this, but they observe people to try to learn how to behave and act and feel, like to show what that looks like, even though they don't really feel it.
Mhm.
And I also just recently discovered, I forget the term, but it's not an empath. Oh crud, I can't remember the term, but it's pretty much saying that they can read emotions incredibly well, and it's not that they take it in and internalize it and feel it with you or with the person, someone. It's that they can read it really well in order to manipulate, which is scary.
Yeah.
But I can look back at my own, experience and be like, yeah, that's exactly what was happening to me. So
Yeah. So there's one, Gia addressed a question and highlighted it for me. So he made it really easy to see. It says at True Story Live, but does anybody really know what kind of relationship other people behind closed doors have? Great question. No,
Yeah.
we don't. All we can go by is what we observe. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're around a couple and having dinner and the husband is being critical of her, and you get a sense of the energy between the two people if your eyes are open.
Yeah.
Whether you want to know what kind of relationship they have or not, you can pick up on these things. And me personally, I was going to be a counselor. And I have a bachelor's in social science relating to psychology and sociology. So I didn't go on to get my master's. It's a long story, but I never did that. But I've always been interested in this. So I pick up on cues that people give. And also, when you see people getting separated and divorced and child custody battles and all this stuff in the world, I mean, you see that there's plenty brokenness out there. There's plenty of there's a glut of broken relationships. So it doesn't take a lot to know that. But you're absolutely right. Behind closed doors, I don't have any idea what their relationship is. All I can do is go by the cues that I see if I spend time around them. That's all. So that's a good point.
And people can get very good at faking it. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of the abuse that I went through happened behind closed doors. And when my ex and I were out in front of people, I was part of the scam. I played right into it. I was a part of the stupid facade that he was keeping up and that wanted to portray.
Right.
And part of it was because I was scared if I didn't fall in line, what was going to happen to me or what would happen. And but I look back and I'm like, dang, I just I have a hard time not beating myself up for playing along with the facade, but I think it makes it very poignant now. I'm like, I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want. It's exhausting. It's not authentic.
Right.
It definitely did help things. It prolonged things
Right.
and made it worse. And it's painful too. You know, it's painful to be like in a store and you've got customers that are friends coming in and they're like, "How are you?" And you're saying that you're fine and you're putting on this smile when like 10 minutes later or before you opened, you were
Mhm.
getting screamed at in the face in the back room where people
Right.
couldn't see. You
Yes.
know, and so it's like it's low, it's even gaslighting yourself.
Mhm.
It's being, what's the word I was looking for? It's almost like a self-betrayal.
Oh,
You're just being delusional and not about the reality of the situation.
sure.
It's very damaging in many ways to other
Sure.
people, because I've always been in a place where I wanted to be authentic and I wanted to share all parts of me with people in general, just to spur along authenticity, because I think it's a very precious thing that I think there could be so much change in the world if people were authentic and open and
Oh
vulnerable.
my gosh.
So being a part of a facade in that marriage, it was like I was doing the exact same thing that I didn't want to do. And then I hate it. I just am like,
Mhm.
that's not who I want to be. And it's not what I wish for other people.
Mhm.
And it's not how you truly connect with people. I don't think there can be true connection when people are being fake or not being fully honest or authentic.
Right.
It's like if you get two people that are portraying a facade, even
Mhm.
a friendship, it's how deeply can you connect with someone when you're both being not fully
Right.
honest or fake, or
Yeah.
so
Plastic. You're plastic. So you're not relating to the person from a deep internal level. You're relating to who they're pretending to be.
yeah,
Yeah. They're like actors. You might
yeah,
as well just have a relationship with an actor or be performing on stage. That's it.
yeah.
Great question from Nathan Gruber before it scrolls up and I miss it. But he says, Jace, you're a psych guy. Can narcissism be unlearned? What a fantastic question. Um, I believe yes. It's rare. The person has to realize, first of all, that they're an ass, realize that what they're doing is wrong, and want to change. I know of one example, at least, of a big time narcissist who does YouTube videos now, who admits that he is a narcissist, and what he does now, he did realize that he was this type of person, very intelligent guy. I can't think of his name, but he now helps people realize what narcissism is, and he helps people try to see the red flags and avoid being in a relationship with said narcissist. So at least there's one example. I think it's rare. Like, you could ask the question, can someone that abuses children, the general consensus is that they cannot be changed. But yet I know that there have people that have abused children in that way and they have changed. I would say that it takes a real spiritual change, regardless of what path you take. I would say that believing in God and having a relationship with Him, that would be my personal choice. But yes, I do believe it's possible, but they really they have to realize that there's a problem, and then they have to be willing to do what it takes to get out of it. So that's my answer to that. Yeah. Gia says,
I didn't get any of that because it was breaking up.
"Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get any of that. I'm hardline, so I don't know if it's on your end. You were roboting a little bit when you were talking last, but I don't know if it's your
Okay,
phone.
so it might be me.
It could be, but if someone could answer,
Cool.
if anyone's roboting, if I'm getting excellent connection on my end. Of course, that comes from Glenn, not from me. But it's been in the green the whole time, because when we're doing the test broadcast, it kind of fluctuated a little bit. But this whole time, we've been going about a little over an hour and a half. It has been green the whole time, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, Crips, it's showing perfect streaming speed here. So it's not this end.
Okay, no, it's not. It's not. So I'm sorry you didn't hear all that, Jen. I have to listen to the playback. I hope it comes through. Are you able to hear me now? Okay, Jen. hello to Matthias in the chat. He says, all sounds great for the whole broadcast. So he's been listening. Thank you for that. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Thank you. Glenn, are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, clear as
Okay.
one thing. No different.
Okay. I think Jen is going off and coming back on because I asked her a question and she didn't answer. Okay, so she's having issues. She's trying to reconnect. Okay, thank you for doing that. So we will be graced with Jen's presence again as soon as we can. I think that you were asked a question, Glenn, in the chat, but you already addressed it. So do you have any desire to talk about that more openly, or do you think that you answered the gentleman's question, Joel?
I was just going to repeat what I said there. Basically, is that from my point of view, there's a lot of things that I don't understand, and I can't label them, but I certainly don't doubt them that they exist. Like a connection with the universe, well, could be anything. I don't know. I don't have any kind of knowledge as to what it is. All I know is I accept it 100% and run with it. Yeah, that's
wonderful.
It. So, thank you.
Okay, Jen says in the chat, I'm talking to you and you're talking over me. Can you not hear me? I'm unmuted. I cannot hear you, babe. I see you in the window that you're here, but I cannot hear you. Glenn, can you hear Jen?
I cannot.
Okay, so we can't hear you. So I don't know what the problem is.
Oh, she's gone off. She's left Elvis has left the building. Oh, she's back.
I see her in the window. Try again. It's very unfortunate. I cannot hear you. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, while that's happening, I'll just say thanks. Matthias has been very generous with his time to help get this production up and running. So we are certainly very appreciative of that. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. We want to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, 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 hello.
There
Okay,
you are.
you.
There you are. You thought I was being rude, apparently.
No, I didn't think you were. I just figured you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. We can hear you now, though.
Awesome.
Glad that you're back. Okay, so sorry about the distraction, guys, but
yeah, sorry, guys.
We have it back together now. Where were we? Marble Water says, True Story Live, I think you're referring to Mario, who used to be Vigilant Christian. His channel now is Recovering in Jesus. I know who you're referring to, but no, I don't even know if this guy's a believer. He just is an ex-narcissist who is also a psychotherapist. So he knows a lot about the topic. So he actually diagnosed himself and took steps to change it. In fact, it's interesting enough, he thinks that you can't ever really change. He thinks that once you're a narcissist, once you have those, you can change your behavior, but you can't change who you are at the core.
I would lean more to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say more about that, babe.
I think what makes a narcissist in the first place is just this complete, not just an unawareness of other people's feelings, but just a lack of empathy, a lack of caring. And if it's absent, I don't think you can just create that within yourself. So I think it can very well keep a narcissist in that place. They weren't taught it. They didn't learn it through their own relationships with their parents or whoever brought them up. And they just get stuck in that place of it's just not being important to them, not being a part of their personality. So I think I differ a little bit in your opinion. I don't think they can change. I don't think they have the desire and want to change because they honestly do not believe that there is anything wrong with them. It's everybody else's fault. They play the blame game. I hate to be on that part, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Hey, that's where you are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about either. We can disagree about that. And
yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. I mean, I believe that of the two of us, you probably have more direct experience. Well, I mean, I have people in my family that are narcissistic, but the couple people that I know, I don't think they compare to your experience with your ex. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to just agree with you on the possibility that you're right. You know, that's no problem for me whatsoever. I think it would be very difficult, at least at best.
Yeah. At best. Yeah.
John says constitutionally, which is a great word, incapable of being honest with themselves. It takes a miracle in Christ. I would agree. After you heard what Jen said, I would say that if there is an authentic relationship with Christ, if there's any way for a person to change, that would be the one way that I think it is possible. I think with God, all things are possible. I think that's true.
I do believe that too.
Mm-hmm. Now Marble Water's still talking about Mario, and he says, side note, I prayed for Mario. I think he's being genuine about what he's going through now. Yeah, so just to get everyone on the same page, Mario, I'm familiar with who he is, and I've in the past I've watched several of his videos. Vigilant Christian, and he kind of went off the rails for a good bit there. Very popular channel, had a lot of viewers and things like that. And so I'm not familiar with his new channel, so I won't comment about that. But at least according to Marble Water, he feels like he's being genuine and has made a real change, and I think that's great. That's wonderful. If someone can change and you can see the change that that they're not in the same place they used to be, I think that's great, and it's to be celebrated for sure. Brother Dave agrees with you, Jen. He says, exactly, at Jen, they are never wrong.
Yeah, it's like if someone can't see that they're at least a part of a problem, because I was always coming from a perspective of, there are two human beings in this relationship and we're both fallible.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't trying to play the blame game and place it all on him,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't willing to pick up anything, any part. And part of that, I mean, he'd even say to me sometimes, I don't remember exactly how I'd say it, but it was along the lines of, I'm not the problem, so why should I change?
Right. Makes you be the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
So we had a new, and I'll say hello to this person, Jen, but John Dons is in the chat, and this is my buddy. Now I call him Rob, but his real name is John. So this is the guy, babe, that I told you about, that I went and lived with them in Illinois and went to California. Married to.
Oh yeah.
Rob, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, so
Good to see you.
You guys haven't met yet, but I am so glad that you're here. I'm glad that I saw your comments on one of the test videos, buddy, and haven't talked to you in a while. I don't want you to put your number in here, but if you want to send me an email, my email is truestorylive.crips@gmail.com. Just send me an email if you ever want to talk on the phone. I'll get your number. I think I actually got your number from Christy. It might be in the messenger somewhere. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you for showing up, and I hope all things are good with you. But he actually had a question. So how much of narc traits are born of undue parental praise?
And I wanted to ask him, what does he mean by undue parental praise?
I would assume that he means that they don't deserve it. They don't deserve the praise.
But they get it anyway?
Get it anyway. So undue parental praise. I would think that would be a huge problem if the kid is a brat, for instance, and his parents are praising him or her for that. Then yeah, that could mess them up big time. So they are taught, they are learning that their behavior has no consequences, and then so that can definitely, I believe that can create a narcissist for sure. So great question, appreciate that. Let's see. Talking doctrine. Does the everyone gets a trophy mentality cause children to head into narcissism? Well, I think that ties in to John's question. Or I think that there's no consequences. So in other words, you go out there, let's say it's soccer, for instance. So you're playing soccer as a kid and everybody gets a trophy. There's no winners or losers. Some of those teams don't even keep score, and that just blows my mind. I guess they're doing it to remove all competition so that nobody feels hurt or left out. And that can go too far too. If you're horrible at soccer, but yet your parents make you play and you're just sitting on the sideline, you're not ever part of it. That's not good, especially at the younger ages. I mean, everyone should be involved in some way. But I think that's a great question. Does everyone gets a trophy mentality cause children headed narcissism? I believe it could. So it's based on, well, I think there's a huge problem, and I'm not just, well, I don't know how to comment about this without generalizing, but I think people have a problem with millennials. And people have done studies about this because in general, I'm saying in general, not all of them, but in general, they have that mentality. These are the children born out of that idea of everyone gets a trophy, that mentality. I'm not saying they're all narcissists, but I'm sure that some of them are because they don't have to really work for anything. But each generation that grows up, I'm a Gen Xer, so we have our own problems based on who our parents were in general. You know, our parents are baby boomers, and baby boomers are, in some people's opinion, are one of the most difficult generations, at least in raising children and messing them up somewhat. And again, that's a generalization. If you're a baby boomer listening, please, I'm not referring to you personally. It's these are studies that people have done and comments that other people have made. I'm just addressing that. So there that is. Okay, Marble Waters. Wait, Janet says, Jen, sad way to live and nightmare for those trapped in their world. I would agree.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And Nathan's talking doctrine. It says talking doctrine. I think it trains them to be that way. The Me Too movement's doing that on purpose. Interesting point. Also.
Janet said we also got red marks on our school papers, LOL.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, I still think they grade things, right? I mean, they
everyone gets hundreds.
You just show up and you get hundreds. So I don't know. I have not been in school for a long time, so I have no idea. And don't yet have kids of our own. So even if we do, they probably, well, I shouldn't say probably, they won't be going to a public school. We'll have to either a private school or homeschool. My opinion of homeschooling has changed a lot over the years. I used to think the idea of a parent teaching their kid rather than them getting a state-run education was just foolhardy, but I think that's changed now. I actually have friends that homeschool. It's Heather and her family, the ones that sold their house, and they just travel around the United States all year in their RV. They live on the road, literally. Yeah. All right, Glenn, we need to hear a little bit more from you.
Well, ask me a question. I'll happily answer it.
Oh, that's the way
You've already had a go at baby boomers, so I'm already starting to sulk.
Oh, no.
Like, wait a minute here.
I don't think you fit any known category.
I would agree. Glenn's in his own category.
Yeah.
In my own world.
Just the way we want it.
Well, my kids seem fine.
Yeah, great.
I didn't quite get the baby boomer comment, but I'd never heard that one. But I don't know. Yeah, you sort of took me aback on that one. So,
well, there's a popular YouTube channel called The Narcissistic Resistance. He actually changed the name and made it Gen X Politics or something like that. It's weird that he changed the name, but he still talks about narcissism. Ali is his name. and he's has some really good comments. But all he used to deal with is narcissistic relationships, and it's fascinating how much I've learned by listening to that channel. And a lot of people either write an email or send a letter, and a lot of them have recordings, actual recordings of interactions with their narcissistic, father, mother, sister, brother, wife, husband, whatever. And it's fascinating. And he has, I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but he probably has 50 videos on how much narcissism fills up the baby boomer generation and what causes that. So I've listened to a lot. It's his opinion, but I've heard it in other places too. But he seems to have it out for him. He gets very irritated because people say, "Oh, you're talking about a baby boomer, and I'm not an narc." And says, "Look, I'm not talking about all of them. I'm saying this is something he's noticed." I think it goes to what I said earlier, that each generation has their own particular issues. I'm sure Gen Xers, which I'm a part of, I'm sure we have learned.
We all have our baggage.
Right.
All of us.
Right. And
Oh, sorry. No, you go. My apologies.
what's the key to baggage, baby?
Oh no, I just said we all have our baggage.
No, I know.
Oh, and I said the key to baggage is unpacking it. And some
Unpack.
people refuse to even admit they have any. So how can you unpack something that you can't admit that you have?
Yeah. If you don't recognize your own luggage you're carrying around, then how can you unpack it?
Yeah, and that kind of is a narcissist, you know.
Sure.
I think they have their own traumas and abuse that they went through as kids
Sure.
that shaped and formed who they are. But if they don't see any problem with them, and if everyone else is the problem,
Mhm.
why, it's the same thing, just not
Absolutely.
acknowledging that it's there. Glenn, Janet had a question for you.
It's a good question.
Yeah, do you want me to read it?
No, I saw it. I've got an answer.
Okay. Well, let me read it out
More
loud.
for the listeners. More
Okay,
for the
sure.
Yeah. What changes do you see in your children than grandkids as far as this issue of you are perfect as you are, even when they mess up?
Okay. As a parent, I've got no problem that my kids mess up at all. But the issue for me is that it's not for me to tell them that they messed up. My role is to be a guide so that they can see themselves that they stuff. There's nothing kids. If a parent tells a child that they've really stuffed it right up, you're useless, etc., what good does that do? All it does is alienate you from your children. But if you're there if you're there for them when they acknowledge that they've messed up, then you're there as a safe place for them, someone they'll come to if they're distressed or they need to talk, and that's how I see it works. You don't tell your kids they stuffed up. No, because why would I judge my kids? They're better off if I'm just there for when, as I said, when they realize, yeah, look, hey, Dad, I stuffed this up. Now, can you help me? Can we work this out and see if we can get out of this mess? Great. But imagine a child who has no one to go to.
Right.
That's not a good thought for sure. So good question, Janet. Really good question.
I would add to that too, that if you do have children or anybody that you're kind of in charge of or whatever, if you do have to point something out of the behavior, make sure that you're referring to the behavior and not making it personal to them. In other words, to say to a child, "Oh, you're just bad," or "You're being a bad boy or a bad girl." Make it be about the behavior. Like saying your behavior isn't what I would expect from you. Just for an example, don't make them internalize that the problem is themselves, because then you have a self-esteem issue born to happen for sure. Which leads me to two other comments. Brother Dave says, some people just suck. You got to learn to love yourself and be happy with yourself, even if you got to do it alone for a while. And then Liam's answer to that at Brother Dave, I could never do that. I don't love myself. So Glenn, this is right up your alley, buddy. If you want to comment on this, you have Dave's comment about loving yourself and be happy with yourself.
I'm just trying to find this. Some people just suck. Here you go, Dave. Whereabouts after that is it?
It's real close. It's real close.
You
It's
got it, even if you do it alone. Da.
It's right underneath Nathan. So it's Stephanie makes a comment and then Nathan makes a comment. And then it's Liam. Liam Kerwin.
Oh, I can never do that. I don't love myself. Wow. I would ask Liam, on what basis does he say that? Why does he say it?
Okay. Liam, why don't you love yourself, buddy, if you feel safe discussing that with us? We won't wait for an answer. We'll just, if you want to answer that, you can.
Yeah.
Alex says, we love ourselves when we learn God loves us. Well, I would agree with that. But what if a person doesn't love God? How do they learn to love themselves outside of that? I agree with you, Alex, but I agree with you because I'm coming from the aspect of believing in God and knowing that he wants us to love ourselves. Otherwise, the commandment that he gave, love God with all your heart, with everything, and love your neighbors yourself, that particular command assumes that we love ourselves. So if you're commanded to love other people and you don't love yourself in the first place, how are you able to love other people then? I think those two things are hand in hand. So
Yes.
if you don't love yourself, how are you able to love anyone else? I don't think it's possible.
Liam responded,
Okay.
I love Jesus first and others more than I love myself. Oh, isn't this a familiar conversation,
It
guys?
is. It is. And it makes me think of the oxygen mask picture that you shared with me, Glenn, when I was in this place.
I shared it. Well, you keep giving it to him. I shared the
I'm
oxygen
sorry.
mask with you. He shared
it. So prideful.
Talk about
Prideful, narcissistic.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, I know the three of us talked about it in
Yeah.
the three-way chat. We really discussed it, and it was such a off the wall concept, but it clicked at the same time because if we are not loving ourselves, we are pretty much giving out of an empty place, and it's very destructive. I know my heart was in the right place when I was trying to love people, even though I didn't love myself or loved myself very, very little. But I know for me, God has brought about a fascinating and wonderful balance because I think my entire life, and I'm not sure where this is rooted from, but I've never wanted to be self absorbed. I've never wanted to be self centered. I've always been so incredibly hypersensitive and hyper aware to that. But I think because of that, I swung the other way completely. You know what I mean? This like selfless, people pleasing, always say yes, never say no, person. And I didn't realize that that was hurting myself in some cases, not all the time, but some cases. So when we talked about the oxygen mask concept, it clicked, and I realized, especially in the situation I was in, that was just so abusive. It just made me realize, wow, loving yourself it's not about being self-absorbed or self-focused all the time,
Right.
but it does command us in scripture, love your neighbor as yourself. The as yourself is huge. In my entire life, I focused on the first part of that scripture, love your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't doing the as yourself part, but
Right.
I really do believe God has helped instill in me a balance so that he knows that I don't want it to shift into that horrible place of being self-absorbed or a narc or he's very aware, of those feelings and that fear in me. Not that I think there's any chance that it would happen because of my personality, but and how I was raised and stuff. But the fact that that is even the concerns even there is a good thing. I think people that do swing to that other side, they just don't have a concern about it at all. They're like, whatever, I'm gonna be full of myself. But
Right.
yeah, loving yourself it's huge, and I didn't realize how huge it was until I saw where I was at, and just it's bad.
I like how you explained that, Jen, and the point that you made, I think, is the most important for people to understand is you're not talking about selfishness or being self-absorbed. And
Yeah.
to make that point, Janet says, I see my daughter and her friends abusing the oxygen mask example. like they need to constantly get makeovers and neglect others because they always need more self-pleasure. Yeah,
Yikes.
that's the thing. Great, great comment. I'm sorry that's happening, of course, but that's a great comment to make. Yeah, so this is not being selfish. It's not saying me, 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 me. It's saying you have to
You have to take care of yourself.
take care of yourself and understand that if you're coming from a God perspective, God has a purpose for you. Like he created you for a reason, and he commanded you to love others, but he's also wanting us to love ourselves. And that ties into what Nathan Gruber says. It says, Jen, how can you love yourself when you're aware how evil your thoughts can be? I think God's crazy, and I don't know what that means. I'm sure you didn't mean to say God is crazy, so I'm not sure. Maybe you can change that or explain that more.
Oh wait,
But
oh wait. Did I say God was crazy?
no,
Oh, Nathan. Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure.
no. Nathan said, I think God's crazy. No. So how can you love yourself when you're aware how evil your thoughts can be? Our thoughts can be evil. The Bible says the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? But in terms of someone that has become a believer, God is changing your heart. He's changing your heart from stone to a heart made of flesh. He's growing and changing you. So out of that, at least from a believer's perspective, out of that, he's teaching you how to love him first and love yourself, and to know that he cares about you. I've had a lot of problem with the people's misinterpretation of the scripture. Um, God is no respecter of persons. I mean, I've heard from the pulpit people saying, he doesn't care about you as an individual, which is total bollocks to me, because he loved us so much that he sent his son into the world to die for our sins. So, from a believing perspective, if he has done that, it's not just for him that he did that. And a lot of people think that they separate God's love for us with his desire for glory. And I'm sorry, I just don't see him as just him creating us just only simply for the sole purpose of having worshipers. He wanted a relationship with us.
Yeah.
And he said in that way. So
Yeah.
it's not about being self-absorbed or being selfish. It's simply about recognizing that you're a person that God created and loved.
Yeah.
There's some rifling going on.
It's Glenn. I
Glenn?
always picture a Muppet banging on a typewriter. You
Yeah.
know that meme was like it's like Kermit banging on
Yeah.
him. Glenn.
Not to be a stickler, but maybe for clacking away like Bonzo on the drums. Is it Gonzo? Gonzo from the Muppets. Yeah, banging on the drums.
Maybe you could mute yourself, Glenn.
Maybe mute when you're doing that. That'd be great. Glenn says, agree, Nathan. So any relationship on that basis cannot be complete. So I got to go back up to what Nathan said. Oh, he must be talking about the comment I read.
That was saying that a person who doesn't love themselves cannot accept love from a person who does. Correct or not?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So using ourselves for an example, I believe Jen does love herself, and I love myself. It's still something I'm working on. It might take a lifetime to fully understand that. I definitely have grown up with, just like many of us, where we have broken parts and pieces. And if you're willing to be introspective and look at yourself and really, really take a deep look at who you are, and you have desired change, you can do that. And you grow and change. And loving yourself is a byproduct of that. But if you're in a relationship with someone that doesn't love themselves at all, that means they don't trust themselves. They don't trust their own feelings. They don't think they're worth anything. And the other person does. That I don't feel like that ever works. Now, having said that, know that you are not a perfect person and that you have broken parts and pieces. But it's like that song, and I forget who does it, but it's so powerful, Broken Together. And it's a Christian song, but it's absolutely lovely. It's realizing that we don't have to be broken alone. We can be broken together, and embrace that. If you can embrace the fact that you have broken parts, and from a God perspective, that God is working in you to heal you and change you, then you can do it together and realize that a relationship can be born out of that. But it doesn't work if it's unbalanced either way. You know, if someone loves themselves, the other person doesn't. It's not gonna flourish until the person that does not love themselves learns how important that is and does some work on that. That's just
Yeah.
my opinion.
It is a really like not touchy subject, but it's, I mean, kind of, I guess, that whole self-love, because I think a lot of people's minds go straight toward being self-absorbed and
Right.
self-focused, but
Right.
it's the healthy kind of self-love, isn't it? It is a balance. It's truly a balance. It's caring about yourself enough to take a shower and brush your teeth and have a day off from work so that you can rest, or going to church, or having family time, or hanging out with friends. It's stuff
Mhm.
like that. It's setting boundaries and protecting yourself from toxic people.
Right.
Even that's an expression of self-love. But in the mix with that, there's a balance of output. You know, loving other people as well in it. It's not one or the other. It's a mixture.
Right. Beautifully said.
Yeah. Thank you.
It is a mixture. Nathan says, Glenn, yep. If I love someone, I'm very suspicious of myself. I kind of put them first. I'm genuine, but that's as far as I go. I'm a bit nuts. I don't think you're that nuts, Nathan. We're all a little nuts from time to time.
I'd love to know what Nathan means by what is the definition of love in that instance. That'd be great to hear. What
Okay.
does that mean? If you're happy to tell us, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, Nathan. So explain more about what you believe love is. That'd be great. And John quotes scripture: "Love is patient, patience, kindness, tolerant, persevering, giving, cherishing, respecting, self-controlled." Yeah, those are the fruits of the spirit, as you very well know, John. Love, love is one of the most important ones. The scripture says that charity is the greatest of these is charity. Those are gifts that, biblically speaking, God gives to us.
Yeah.
And they're His gifts, not ours, because the idea is that we're not capable of continuing with those things. Go ahead, Jen. I took a break.
I was just gonna say, it just occurred to me that these things, that God, what's the word? He grows in us, you know, through His Spirit. It's also things that I think He wants us to show ourselves. It just occurred to me. That was the word I was looking for. Occurred.
Mhm.
Just from coming from a place where I wasn't kind to myself. I wasn't giving to myself. I wasn't respecting of myself, or had self-control in areas. It really bleeds into everything, the output and the input, you know, of like how you treat other people,
Right.
as well as how you treat yourself. So it's an
Absolutely.
interesting point.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, guys. I'm not suggesting we cut this off, but we've been going a little bit over 2 hours, and we didn't discuss before the show how late you guys wanted to go. I don't. It seems like we're having a great broadcast and a great conversation, but I don't know how late you want to go. Any opinions on that?
I was actually going to ask you if you'd respond to Nathan's comment. The only way I can rationalize God's love is that He loves because that's who He is. It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's great. The only way I can rationalize God's love is that He loves because that's who He is. It's nothing to do with us. Okay. Well, part of it I can definitely agree with. God is love, biblically speaking. He says God is love, and I completely believe that He does. That is just who He is. However, God can still be love without creating people. I believe it does have something to do with us because He wants to share that love with us. He doesn't want to just have a relationship with the Holy Spirit and with the Son, and that's it. He loved us enough to create us and also enough to send his son. Yes, that is love, but I believe it is his desire to have a relationship with us. But I understand why you think that. I mean, again, from the pulpits, you hear people talking about how horrible we are, and they focus a lot on that. They use scripture to focus on how bad people are, and if you look at the world, people are genuinely bad. I mean, you wouldn't have war, you wouldn't have all these atrocities, you wouldn't have the hatred and the division and all the stuff. There are people out there that think, oh, no, people are genuinely good. I don't see how they're coming to that conclusion. It can be both. God can love us, and it still has something to do with us because of how he demonstrated. He demonstrated his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. That's in Romans 5. He has demonstrated his love towards us. And if we were garbage alone, and we didn't have any good qualities worth redemption, he would not have sent his son to redeem us. So I do understand where your question is coming from. I would have to agree to disagree on the last part of it, which is it's nothing to do with us. His redemptive story has everything to do with us. It is a search and rescue mission, and it is because of his great love for us. But he cares about every single person on the earth, whether they accept his free gift or not. That's my opinion. Did you want to add anything to that, Jen?
Oh, I was reading the chat, and Janet wanted me to read 2 Timothy 3, which is interesting because we're talking about self-love, and there's a good kind of self-love, but this is definitely not one.
Okay.
It says, but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. And from such people turn away. It's a good definition of the wrong kind of self-love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Stay away.
Yeah, stay away from that. I mean, I would completely agree. Obviously, I agree with that. And we're headed that direction. I mean, we were mentioned earlier about social media and narcissism and all that. That's what we're headed to. I remember growing up, and my grandparents lived in kind of a rural area in Michigan, and they never locked their doors, ever. Maybe if they went out of town for any length of time, but when they're just going to the store, it took 20 minutes to go into town to the store. So they just didn't have any need to do that. But it wasn't just there. Growing up, it was a lot of places they had that, and now people don't feel that safe anymore.
No.
Child abductions and molestations and sex trafficking and all that stuff. These are not fun topics to talk about, and I won't focus on very long, but all that stuff is happening in the world, and people are getting way more selfish. So I believe we're headed in this direction. And it seems like we're headed there fairly quickly. Did you bring up that point kind of to, I'm not saying that you did, but do you agree with Nathan that it doesn't have anything to do with us, or you're just making a separate point?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making a separate point because Janet had brought it up in the chat. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. No, that's okay. Yeah. So these are things, obviously, that these are the wrong things. I think there still are good people in the world, and there always will be. They do exist, but I think it's predominantly these types of people. John Dons asked a question. Did God know he was going to have to cast Adam from the garden? Yeah, I've heard this question before. Definitely been discussed. Yeah, absolutely. we believe God knows everything. He has he sees the end from the beginning. Scripture says so. He created us and allowed it to play out, even knowing how it would all pan out. You can ask the same question about Judas. If he knew Judas was going to betray Jesus, why would he allow him to be called a disciple and to travel with Jesus and to see all the miracles and all the things that were done, knowing that he would be betrayed? I would say the answer to that is because he knew how it would all end, and that was a necessary part of that particular story. Just as Adam in the garden and the choices he made as part of the story as well. Some people disagree with this. It's like the ends justify the means. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that because of total knowledge, knowing how it would all work out,
Yeah.
he wanted that relationship with us so much that he was willing to go through all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Neither of you answered my question about how long you want to go. I'm not antsy to leave, but I don't want to go longer than either.
Yeah. I'm getting tired.
Okay. Okay. So a couple of things as we're going to say goodnight here shortly. Do us a favor. I know that some of you have liked the broadcast, and I'm not shameless enough to ask that please like and comment on the description if you care to, and just tell us how much you liked or disliked the broadcast. Also, one of the purposes of tonight was to get ideas from you guys. What kind of things would you like to hear us talk about? If you have any questions for us after the fact, we would definitely benefit from you sharing that with us. If you don't want to make a public comment, you can send an email to True Story Live. So the title of the show, truestorylive.crips@gmail.com. And I do read all the emails. Nathan might think that I don't read all the emails because he sends me emails. He's a prolific emailer, and I don't respond to all of them. I've been better lately, but I'm when we haven't done the show in a year, so I generally respond when I'm in that place when we're doing the show and people are responding. I will definitely respond to anybody that sends me an email. So be sure to do that. And apparently, Glenn, you've got some good information for another topic out of the chat with your discussion with Liam. That's good.
2 good topics.
Okay,
guys,
great.
Thanks so much. Look, there's just so much information here. Really good discussion. Yeah, it poses a lot of questions, I can tell you. That's for sure, but that's what we like.
We do.
Sorry, Crips, before you go, just how about a heads up for the next show, which is going to be able to be posted pretty soon.
Yeah, heads up for the next show. Let me pull it up really quick. So the first show for for a regularly scheduled, this was kind of a pre-show show. And the topic is, for the first week, humility versus condescension. And the title of this one will be, I Want to Know What Love Is. And that's the song that we'll be using. We won't be playing it on the show, but we'll post the link so you guys can listen to it on your own. That's next Sunday.
And it'll be topical.
Yeah.
But not divisive.
Right. Topical, but not divisive. I think that's a great way to put it. And again, our basic charter is no set rules, no riot acts, no agendas, and no assessments at the entry gate. That's because there is no gate. Everybody is welcome. And again, all we ask is that you be respectful. And tonight has been a great example of how we would love to see this go. First is showing up. And you guys showed up tonight, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. I mean, we talk to each other on our own all the time, but we do the show so we can have discussions with you. Liam says, I want you to show me.
It's all going through all of our heads.
Yeah. It's a great.
Can I just say something to Nathan in response to that last comment? please.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Tweet. It says, Glenn, for instance, if I genuinely care for the girl and then develop romantic feelings, I will kill it instantly. Okay. I'll share this because I don't know whether it's of any relevance, but you know how usually people get love chemistry and all go gaga and start to fall to the floor and like jump on lounge chairs or something like that. But with my wife, there was no chemistry like that whatsoever. If I could call it holistic or spiritual chemistry, that would. It's very hard to put a title on it, but it's the only relationship I've ever had in that regard that came with no chemistry, and it was really noticeable and really strange. And I only understood it later that it really was something that transcended that experience. So it didn't diminish the experience. All I can say was way different. But that's the marriage that's lasted 30 years and never had an issue. So it's got to have something going for it. Anyway, that's fascinating comment, Nathan. Thanks so much.
Right. I have a quick comment from John. John says, "Hey, Cripps, can you do a show on social ineptness? I see millennials having this kind of growing problem because of social media, like how to get out of it, how to grow from ineptness, how to get out of it." I got you, John. Glenn's always taking notes. So Glenn, if you could write that down. Of course, we'll have it in the chat to go back and look at, John.
Is John talking about kind of like sort of a social anxiety because your interaction is mostly online and not person to person, like face to face or even ear to ear? It's mostly text.
That's part of it, I would believe, Jen.
Okay.
Social ineptness in general, I would say that definitely ties into it. Growing problem because of social media. Yeah.
Well, he says he also added plus victims of trauma have this disorder. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think sorry, it's that little delay. I'm sorry to jump you, but if you care to articulate it a bit more in an email to Cripps and sort of so we could keep on track with your thinking, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. Sure. Cool. He says both that and trauma victims, John. Okay. So you answered both questions. So again, here, let me put my email in here just really quickly to storylive.cripps@gmail.com. Okay. So making sure that I spelled it correctly. Yes, I did. Okay. So that's the email. Again, we definitely want to hear from you guys. So if you have, like John has done here in the chat, which is a great way to do it. If you have any topics that you want us to discuss, if you like tonight, definitely, as I said, please give us a like. That helps when people are perusing the channel and they see a bunch of likes. That's good. I'm sure we'll get some not likes eventually, but I'm only able to see the likes tonight. So I think that you guys just showing up tells us you like it. And there were some really helpful comments in the chat. Stephanie Trexler says, "This was great." This is all in caps. "This was great learning experience tonight." That's great. And as we read in the write-up, it is not for us to be teachers, but to challenge. And hopefully some of this has been challenging to you guys. We're challenging ourselves too. This isn't just for you. It's for us as well. And we hope to learn from you guys. It's not us just saying, "Hey, we have a grip on all this, just learn from us." No, we learn from you by you involving yourself in the conversation, just like you did tonight. People having conversations and interacting with each other and with us. I couldn't have asked for a better first show.
Yeah, I couldn't either. This has been lovely.
It was really great, really great. Okay. So let's start with Glenn. Glenn, say goodbye to the peoples, unless there's anything else while you're saying goodbye, if there's anything else any parting words that you'd like to use, go ahead.
I'll say good night and just say that I'm incredibly appreciative that you've shown up everyone, and very much looking forward to see you next week when we're going to get a bit more serious. Yeah, be good, but lighthearted at the same time too.
Great.
Thanks, Crips.
Yep. Jen, say goodbye to the peoples while you play us out with a ukulele.
I'm going to lull you guys all to sleep. It's my ASMR ukulele playing now. Good night, you guys. I hope you guys have had so much enjoyment out of this as much as we have. This has been wonderful, and we really, really appreciate you guys interacting with us in the chat. I'm sure there are tons of shows where the chat's not even looked at, but we really do want this to be kind of a integrated. What is the word I'm looking for, Crips?
Integrated is good.
Integrated show.
Participatory.
There you go. That wasn't the one I was looking for, but that one's great.
All
We really want to
inclusive.
hear, yeah. And yeah, I still can't think of the exact word, but those are all great. We just really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts and your feelings and being a part of the discussion. That's what we want this to be. And just reiterate, if there is anything you guys want to talk about or address or share or anything, email us if you're a little shy. That's definitely a thing that you can do. I couldn't think of the words.
Interactive.
So I definitely come from a place where I'm more shy. Luckily, Glenn and Jason are both very safe people for me, so I get some confidence from that and from myself a little bit too. But I can understand when people deal with being shy and would rather do things through an email than in the chat or something. So, and if there's anything any of you ever want to share and you want to remain anonymous too, we don't mind doing that as well. So just keep that in mind. We don't want anything to keep you guys from sharing. We want you to feel safe. So thanks for being here, guys. We love you.
We love you. Yeah. So Debbie S popped in to say goodnight. Thank you for being here as well. Thank you again, everyone else, for being here. Paula also, she must have been listening the whole time. Paula says, great show, guys. Really enjoyed it. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. That means a lot, Paula. Thank you for listening and also for commenting. Thank you so much. Again, guys, thank you. So far tonight, it says we have 90 playbacks, and we vacillated between like 15 and 20 listeners tonight, and many people active in the chat. This is a great first run. Being repetitive, but I just want you guys to know how much we appreciate it. Thank you for coming back. If you did like the broadcast, please definitely share about True Story Live. Share the link with other people so they can listen to it. If you're listening on the playback, thank you for coming by, and we hope to see everyone next week. So this has been our first episode, TSL The Return. This ain't no place for no hero. Thank you for being a part of it, and I hope everyone has a great week. Until next time, good night and God bless.